Right, it's 10 p.m. by my clock. About seven. What you're seeing is about 7 seconds slow. So, welcome to live hangout number 32 for the International Full Stroke Time. I'm glad there's somebody here this week at the start. Got a lot of things. Well, the main theme is them bitches be crazy. Let's take a look at some of the more insane full stroke allegations. But other things to discuss as well, news and such. This may well be the last one because of the poor response. This may be the last one I do for some time. But I say this is number 32. For 30 of them at the Internet Archive. This one and the previous one will be there next month shortly. Well, it's the 30th today, so 2 or 3 days' time. There's quite a lot there, and of course the International Full Stroke Timeline. There's a lot. So I've done a lot of work on it recently, but I did. Excuse me. I had a couple of new entries 2 or 3 new entries this week. With videos as well. So I'm not going away. Hopefully I'm not going away anytime soon. But so there's a lot on there to get to. For people who are new to this, there's a lot there to go through. I mean, child sexual abuse, the reality of the lies and the nonsense about that, regret sex, the professional liars exposing the Rape Crisis Network. So there's a lot there. Right, let's go through a few things here. We've got here a bloke who they really do amaze me. Some blokes that they really do amaze me. This is police officers at it again. There've been quite a few actually. I was actually speaking to a woman on Facebook the other night who was said she was preyed on by a police officer when she was vulnerable. He ended up behind bars. So, but this is this is from this is new. This is it was published on the 24th, last Friday. The Sussex police inspector has been dismissed after engaging in sexual activity with vulnerable women on duty, the force said. Inspector Tony Lum chose not to appear before an independently chaired misconduct hearing at Sussex Police HQ. If reached standards of professional behaviour with respect to authority, respected courtesy. Well, we tried to make them happy. But no, the panel heard he had formed inappropriate relationship. What does this word mean, inappropriate? Inappropriate relationships with 5. That's between 4 and 6. 5 vulnerable women. They're always vulnerable, aren't they? He didn't realise it afterwards. I don't know. I mean, this is an inspector, an inspector. He's thrown away his career, a fat pension, or at least part of his pension, for a leg over. Okay, 5 leg overs, maybe 5 leg overs. But there's no need for police officers. Women are attracted to them like magnets, certain women. So it should at least be use a bit of discretion. We can pick and choose. And I don't know what he's supposed to have done, but while having sex, it's. But it's. I don't know. I mean, I find it very difficult to have any sympathy with him. With these blokes. He's lucky he wasn't accused of rape, because a lot of these mad bitches, they do accuse men of rape, as you've known if you've gone this far. Where are we now? I've lost a file here. Lost my directory here. Yeah, this is Where are we? False rape. Yeah. There's a found one here from this is for the Bucks Free Press report, April 24th, 2008. Sergeant Manjit Joel was found guilty of misconduct in the Independent Police Complaints Commission hearing. Was accused of sexual activity with a prostitute or visiting a property in Walsall. Why would a police officer? I know this is this American cops and hookers thing, but why would a police officer want to have sex with a prostitute? Yeah, any sort of sex, well, except maybe no, I mean any sort of sex. He was actually accused of rape. I'm not. How is it? Yeah. He was initially arrested on suspicion of rape. I'm not going to include this in the. I'm not going to include this on the timeline because, I don't. Probably not now. Well, no, not as things stand, because the guy was asking for it. Well, it was probably. When I say rape, rape doesn't require actual force. Doesn't actually require the woman to be held down. It may be he said that unless you, I can make this go away if you drop your knickers. But I don't know what these blokes say. They really amaze me. The things they do. This is something I found. This isn't a rape. This is I was doing something like. Well, I don't forget what I was researching. I was researching the Yorkshire Post. This is from the front page of the Yorkshire Post. Oh, back page. Sorry, back page of the Yorkshire Post, June 19th. Was it back page? It's on the back page of the front page. Yorkshire Post, June the 19th, 1980. The sub postmistress, Mrs. Joyce Clayton. A grandmother in the late 50s. She was attacked by a let fly with feet and teeth as a young thug tried to snatch cash from her till yesterday. Yeah, she didn't know. If you're not familiar with the phrase, I just froze, check out the video, short video. These bitches are playing you. It explains this nonsense. There's another one here. This is from, this is definitely from the front page. This is the Evening Post from Reading. It's called the Evening Post, but it's from the Reading Evening Post. Oh, beg pardon. It's this stuff. Front page, February 3rd, 1982. It's valet of sex attack victim by a judge. A hod carrier who sexually attacked a young married woman. So hod carriers tend to be physical types, don't they? A hod carrier who sexually attacked a young married woman in a Berkshire caravan home was jailed for a year yesterday. Only a year. A judge at Reading Crown Court praised the woman for the vigour and valour with which she resisted the man's advances. They must have absolutely terrified her, said Mr. Justice French. And he told her attacker, although I bear in mind that your judgment was clouded by drink that night, it was a serious offence which must be marked by a sentence of imprisonment. The 23-year-old man, isn't named, was cleared of trying to rape the woman and entering the caravan with intent to rape, was convicted of indecent assault. He denied all charges and claimed during the 4-day trial he was taking a woman's caravan of his own and thought she was his wife. Give him credit for ingenuity. The woman told the jury that she was alone in the caravan on a Crowthorne site with her baby son, and she wanted to find the defendant cuddling her. She said he tried to have sex with her, and she fought him off and pushed him out of the caravan wearing only his underpants. The man said he'd been out celebrating and drunk more than he was used to. He drove back to the site and thought the caravan he went to do was his own. He took off his clothes, got into bed. I don't know. I mean, could he be that drunk? I think it may be true, but it still warrants jail time, doesn't it? I mean, I think it's really well, but women do fight back. They fight back. And here's one here, man fined. What's this one? Oh yes, sex case man fined. This is from the Rutford and Stamford Mercury, August the 4th, 19. You should know by now, anyway. August the 4th, 1983, page 9. A man aged 45 who admitted committing an act of gross indecency on the Meadows. That's Meadows with a capital M, so it's the Meadows. With a youth of 19, was fined £200 by Stamford magistrates last week. Prosecutor Katie France said Arthur Ronald Lonslow of Radcliffe Road met the youth at a pub. He's a boy who's very naive, but had a sheltered life. They went to the Meadows at Lonslow's suggestion, and the offence was committed. The youth said he felt ill and went home in a distressed condition. The police were called. Now this is where it gets silly. Solicitor Robin Dixon defending said it would be an understatement to say the client regretted the evening in question. In a 20-year relationship with a woman which had just ended. This seems to have been a one-off offence. Mrs. France said she would offer no evidence on another charge of indecent assault. This was dismissed by the bench. So this kid, I mean, goes with a. What's the age of consent in? I think the age of consent was. I think the age of consent in for perverted sex was 18 in 1983. So he goes with this guy. I think it's probably a case of regret sex, but it's really weird. I should mention that a while ago there was an article in my local press about a bloke who was charged with some sort of indecent exposure. So he was in a public toilet. He was caught by an undercover police officer. This bloke's got nothing better to do, and he claimed that he had prostate. He was probably studying urine a long time, and claimed it was his prostate. Well, I can sympathise with that because I've had that sort of trouble. The best thing to do is go into a cubicle. You can take your time there, if possible, if there is one. But and I thought he was convicted. I thought it's a bit suspicious. This, I didn't believe it. Well, I thought I'd contacted him before that. I did a bit more research, and I found a couple of years before, or some time before, same bloke had been convicted for he'd put his arms around a 10-year-old girl and said he loved her or something like that, and he was charged with that and convicted of that. It turned out his wife had died. And I'm wondering if that had something. Well, I think almost certainly did have something to do with it. So sometimes people have tragedies in their lives. It goes to heads in a bizarre way. Yeah, I mean, if you're a solicitor, and imagine you're called in by the police as a bloke been arrested for burglary. We want you to defend. He's asked for a solicitor, so you defend him now. If you were told this bloke had a previous conviction for taking and driving away, or criminal damage, you think nothing of it. If you're a bloke who's charged with a sexual offence against a woman and he'd been convicted of a similar sex offence, you think, what's the excuse this time? But a bloke who, not necessarily decent, but puts a frighteners on a 10-year-old girl and then stands around jerking off in a public toilet, well, for other men. I mean, there's obviously something really weird going on there. I think that may have been something like that pushed Roman Polanski over the edge, because for those of you who are not as ancient as me, Roman Polanski was the husband of Sharon Tate, who was the one of the victims of the Tate LaBianca murders, the Charles Manson murders. Manson didn't actually kill himself. Manson wasn't president at the time, but he was a mastermind. She was heavily pregnant. She was butchered like a pig. It was really terrible. I remember it firsthand. I was fairly young then. Sometime later, Polanski, as you may know, drugged and sexually violated a 13-year-old girl, Samantha Guyman. I think he pleaded guilty and was convicted, and then he did a bunk from America. He spent the rest of his life in Europe. I mean, that doesn't excuse what he did. But at the time of the murders, he was out of the country, and there was whispers that he was responsible for, he was involved, which is complete nonsense. But some people, things happen to them, and they go crazy. Another great case, the murder. I've discussed this before. The murder of Sarah Payne, 8-year-old girl in 2000. Look, her mother is out there campaigning now. She's got letters after her name, but her father, Sarah's father, Michael Payne, committed slow motion suicide. It took him 14 years to do it, but he literally drank himself to death. He was doing all sorts of stupid things. And there's lots of cases like this. People are affected by tragedies, by suicides, by all sorts of things. I know a bloke. I knew a bloke when I was working in Leeds. He was worked at my place. He was a bodybuilder, a really big bloke, muscular, and I hadn't seen him for a while. And then I saw him later. He'd been removed from his job. He was doing and working on the yard, just hanging around the yard. He was a nervous wreck, and he'd been in a car crash, and he'd really gone to his head. And he was a big bloke, And other times, people go. Sorry about sniffling, but I've got a cold. Been out shopping today, but they go off their rockers, and of course this applies both to rapes and false rapes. Maybe that some of these women who make false rape allegations do generally.
I do the job.
What's that?
That nobody can predict.
What's that?
The job of intervention.
And simple conversations.
It can be tested.
Sorry about that. That's from the Crawley Observer website where we got an article from about the police officer. So they do go a bit mad sometimes. People doesn't excuse it. But a police officer should keep a professional distance from shouldn't get involved with them, especially a woman who's vulnerable, quote unquote, because a lot of these women, their vulnerability could be your downfall. Kobe Bryant was in the news in spectacular fashion, the basketball player. In 2003, he was accused of rape. Cleared. I'm not going to include him. I've actually, his name is in one of the files, but I haven't included him in the database because it was a rather sordid case of. Excuse me. It was a very sordid case. He was killed in a helicopter crash, and that's come out. But been sort of released, killed along with his 13-year-old daughter. Harvey Weinstein is in the news, and in order to bolster some of the ludicrous testimony against him, the prosecution brought in Barbara Ziv, who was the so-called expert witness at the Cosby retrial. Let's find her. to explain rape myths. The Associated Press here says hashtag Me Too prosecutors deploy experts early to thwart defence. Zivi's not an expert. I mean, all this garbage about trauma. You'll find extensive reference to rape trauma syndrome on the False Hope timeline. There's a separate file discussing it. And now there's rape trauma syndrome, and now there's this just freezing garbage, tonic immobility. The purpose of this so-called expert evidence, excuse me, the purpose of this so-called expert evidence is to explain away the behaviour of women who accuse men of rape. So if a woman claims to have been raped by a man 2 years ago, which she's still dating him, she was dating him 6 months ago, and he's got no hold over her, well, that's because of the trauma. She's in denial. If a 15-stone weightlifter claims to have been forcefully raped by a 6-stone anorexic suffering from what's that disease? That brittle bone disease. If she's overpowered by a much smaller man, I just froze. It's used mostly to explain delay, but she didn't get it. She got a bit of a rough ride from the defence. Having said that, I think Weinstein will be convicted. So, I mean, he's obviously a sleazebag, you know. I don't to one moment believe he raped a lot of these women. That was that deranged one. There's a couple of them. This has come on very suddenly. got the laundry tomorrow. My colleague coming around all day Saturday, so Saturday afternoon. So hope it doesn't develop worse. This is complete rubbish. You know, if you really rape, this is not what you do. Yeah, no. You've seen yourself, and you'll find examples on the timeline of cases of women who have fought back. And there's a very good one of I'm not sure, it's not on the timeline, but I've mentioned it. I've mentioned it. It was a woman, Down syndrome, a young woman from this creep followed her home, ended up in her bed, and she went to a neighbour and called the police on him. So these women, I find it difficult to believe any of them were actually raped by Weinstein. I mean, he's obviously a creep of the first order, but is he a rapist? Women of real class don't go back to the hotel room with the mogul. In fact, Gwyneth Paltrow gave him short shrift, and if she can do it, others can do it. I don't think that deranged actress, was it? One who grew up in a commune. And the other one with tattoo on her chest. Let's see if I can find him. Let's see. Accusers. Asia Argento. She's the one who has a tattoo on her chest. Yeah. She had sex with a 17-year-old youth in California, where the age of consent. Oh, that's ridiculous. That one. The age of consent is 18. Where's the other one? What's her name? Not Rosanna Arquette. We've tried it on Kate Blanchett, apparently. Sophie Dix, Alice Evans, Claire Furiani. Oh God, where is she? Trying to Salma Hayek. Ashley Judd. I'll find it. Gwyneth Paltrow. Uma Thurman. I don't know. Is that actress who was in? She's really a total head case. Marlene Klaas here. Did you show Marlene Klaas? No, she's a classy lady as well. Right. So anyway, crazy bitches. Right. I introduce you to two words which you may be familiar. You're probably familiar with them both, but for those who are not, hypergamy and hybristophilia. Hypergamy is women marry up. They look at men, superior men, and the theory is that if a man treats a woman like dirt, if he ignores her, slaps her about a bit, it keeps her wet between the legs, and it's signaling to her that she's inferior, and that's the theory of it. I mean, I've always liked a bit of romance with my sex, so just keep them lean and hungry. I don't believe that. I think it was Cary Grant who said, "Treat a whore like a princess and a princess like a whore." Well, I treat a whore like a whore and a princess like a princess. I think it's why would you want to have sex with a whore anyway? So anyway, be good to your women while you're young, and then you won't be old and sad and lonely like me. Hybristophilia is the other one. Hybristophilia is attraction for criminal activity, bad boys. Not just bad boys, but really bad. And it's attraction for give the most extreme case. This is really extreme. I haven't put it over the database yet, but I will. This is absolutely insane. If you haven't heard of Kenneth Bianchi, Kenneth Bianchi and his cousin Angelo Bono were serial killers. Bono's died in prison. Bianchi is still alive. His next parole date is 2025, and hopefully he'll be turned down for that as a matter of routine. They killed something like 15 or 16. We started off. Angelo Bono was ripped off by a young prostitute named Eon Washington, and they kidnapped her off the street to teach her a lesson. He ended up strangling her, and they developed a taste for it, and they killed 15 or 16. They became known as the Hillside Strangler. There was a suspicion that there was actually two men rather than one, but Angelo sent Bianchi out. They said, "Go out of the state, go live elsewhere for a while." Bianchi went to Washington State. He got a job as a security guard somehow, and one night he murdered two women very incompetently, and he didn't want to unravel from there. He cooperated. He testified against Angelo in order to avoid the death penalty. Testify very ineptly, but they both ended up in jail. These men are the worst of the worst. I mean, I couldn't remember. They killed over a dozen women anyway, together. Excuse me. Sorry about this. It's come very suddenly. So I try not to just have another sip and then pull myself together. So Bianchi is doing a life sentence. while he was in prison, he met a woman named Veronica Compton. In the UK and in most other jurisdictions, male and female prisoners don't mix. But the only places they will mix is somewhere like Broadmoor, which is a special hospital for the criminally insane. Somehow I met this woman, Veronica Compton, in prison. And she hatched an insane scheme to get him off the hook. And this is just absolutely unbelievable. Somehow, after she finished her sentence, she visited Bianchi. He smuggled some semen. He'd been jerked off on his hand, and somehow passed semen to her. And the idea was that she would murder a young woman, smear the semen on her, and this would cast doubt on Bianchi's conviction. I mean, absurd and depraved. I mean, there may be a more absurd and depraved act out there, but you have difficulty finding it. But fortunately, it didn't work. The girl she strangled, I think, fought her off, or she didn't strangle her enough, and she ended up back behind bars. Absolutely insane. Not quite as insane, but bordering on it, was Karen Cosford. Karen Cosford was a nurse at, she was employed at Wakefield Prison. Wakefield is known as, I think, Monster Mansion. They've had some really terrible people there. I think Robert Maudsley, who's Britain's most dangerous prisoner, I think he's kept there in a special cage. But he's murdered 4 people. I think it's 3 people behind bars. 2 in one day. But she was a nurse at Wakefield Prison. A married woman, I believe. And she started a relationship with a bloke named McBride, who was a rapist. He was 17 years into a life sentence. He was a serial rapist. So I'm reading here from the judgment, the appeal judgment. He was manipulative to an unusual extent, and there was evidence he was accorded notoriety and enhanced privileges in prison. How manipulative could he be? You know? And this mad woman started an affair with this guy in prison. A serial rapist. How it was? I mean, it couldn't have been done without other people turning a blind eye to it. And she dragged down 2 of her co-workers with her. And Kevin Wilson, David Sunderland, who was acquitted of Kevin Wilson pleaded guilty. David Sunderland was acquitted of misconduct in public office. So prison officers or nurse. I mean, I think it was a female. Oh yeah, it was a Caroline Falloon. And another one. So she dragged down 4 people with her, so she could have sex with a convicted rapist. How insane can you get? And when she was caught out, she claimed that he'd raped her as well. But they spun his soul. They found love notes or something in there. Absolutely, totally fucking insane. What sort of woman does that? what sort of woman? Okay, a woman can marry a rapist, or could go out with a rapist. Yeah, okay, a young bloke who's made a mistake. I mean, Ched Evans, his conviction was overturned, but if it hadn't been, his girlfriend stood by, his fiance and his wife stood by him. Why you want to have sex with sluts when he's got somebody like her? I don't know, but I do know. We've discussed it tonight. But you know, can you imagine a woman marrying a serial rapist? No. Marrying a murderer? Yeah, just maybe a guy who's committed one murder. I can marry it, but to have sex with a serial rapist in prison, I mean, insane, absolutely insane. Them bitches be crazy and then some. So that was Karen Cosford. Let's look at the second type of crazy, Lorraine Miles. This is absolutely. Lorraine Miles was. This was a while back. She visited her. She was 19. No, it's Cosford again. Where are we? Lorraine Miles. I'll just find her. Yeah. 2 days before Christmas, 1985, Lorraine Miles visited her a physiotherapist, a bloke named Kane, in a surgery in Benfleet, Essex, and she. I mean, it was a garage which was converted into a surgery. After Christmas, she went to the police, and on January 10th, 1986, Mr. Kane was arrested. She told the police he was treated for I think it was a leg or something. She told the police he inserted his fingers into her vagina and a rectum. Then he raped her and buggered her. Then attempted to force her to fillet him, which is a tall order, especially as her father had driven her there and he was walking around, killing time. I mean, it's absolutely insane, and the authorities looked at the case. They decided not to prosecute. She brought a private prosecution, and there was a trial at the High Court sitting at Chelmsford, and the judge found for her and awarded her £25,108. As I say, it isn't a lot for genuine rape. He appealed, and the judgment was quashed. I mean, if he'd actually done that, she'd have thought. I mean, for a bloke to do that sort of thing, you know, in his surgery, there appeared to have been other people present. Well, there may have been other people present, but he apparently threw away his diary. As he did at the end of every year, throw away his diary. But I mean, there's almost certainly someone else present at the time in the waiting room, and it's. You know, she didn't report it away. She went home with her father. The only thing I think you could compare this with is the Mark Pearson case on Wellington, Waterloo Station. Duke of Wellington. Yeah, well, the Mark Pearson case, which is bizarre and extreme. I've mentioned it, I think. I mean, that was so. I mean, she obviously had some sort of, I don't know, some sort of hallucination dream or whatever. Next we come to Esther Baker, and this is one crazy bitch. She's either crazy or just a liar. She, at the height of this Operation Neutrine nonsense, she came forward, claimed to have been raped in the forest as a child by an MP as police officers stood guard. They looked at. She even looks crazy. The MP was identified as a former MP now, John Hemming, who's really annoyed at this. What was ludicrous? It was that after this nonsense was dispelled. She applied to this one of these inquiries as an interested party into child abuse, and Hemming didn't like that at all. He sued her for libel. Don't think he got much of anything out of her. He's obviously he won libel damages from and four politicians to consider denied her accusations. Sued. Oh yeah, she sued him. This is what they're doing now. These bitches under Me Too. They accuse him of rape. A celebrity or powerful, but Donald Trump, when he defends himself, they claim their reputations have been damaged and sue for defamation. Hemming countersued and won, unsurprisingly, and they're just absolutely mad, these bitches. Judgment. I have to get old. I have to add that to the timeline. I've got Baker on the timeline. He was served just 10 years for an MP. She was always entitled to damage to be assessed on his claim. I should work in a betting shop. She recently made bankrupt. I'm surprised. I really am surprised. No, I was just absolutely batshit crazy. These women. She should have faced prosecution, but they tend not to prosecute mad women. Right, got one here. Now, this is, I think it's an interesting one.
A 19-year-old woman is being held on
Oh, yeah, this is an American one.
a misdemeanor charge after falsely reporting she was sexually assaulted at Mound State Park. We first told you about the incident in July when the woman told police she was jogging when a man came up behind her, pushed her, groped her, and hit her several times before she was able to get away. Since then, detectives have determined that woman, now identified as Marguerite Maggie Wallace of Pendleton, had arranged to meet up with her alleged attacker to fulfill a rape fantasy. A 17-year-old male cooperated with investigators and told them he met Wallace on an app known as Whisper. Police say Wallace ultimately admitted she was lying about the assaults and now faces a charge of false reporting.
They're batshit crazy. They're totally crazy. They're insane. It's not the only one. There's another one, Morgan Triplett. That's another one. She met a guy through Craigslist. Beat me up and we could have sex. They're just totally crazy. I haven't added this one to the timeline, but I did add a video to the archive. Carol Knuth, Carol. Knuth is spelled Knuth. That is how it's pronounced. She sounds sane, but calm and measured at first, but she goes on and on and on about, she was molested by her own father, raped by her own father, put into a foster home, and the same sort of thing, and she goes back to her hometown, looks at court records which aren't there, so it's conspiracies hidden them. Absolutely Absolutely insane. There's another one here, Amy Walker. Is this Amy Walker? Amy Walker. Yes, Amy, spelled Amye. She lied about. She claimed to have been attacked in her own home for no good reason. Gal Sherwood. I mentioned her, Gal Sherwood. This is particularly important. This one, I think, because this is one of these crazy bitches who Women Against Rape took up her case, and so did Lisa Avalos, an American academic who never met a false accuser she didn't like. Sherwood got. You'll find her. Avalos is on the timeline under 2016 to 18. The toxic screeds of Lisa Avalos. She's done 4 or 5 papers, and a couple of those results. Excuse me, big pardon. As I said before, any noise like that is magnified by current software. Avalos has written a couple of papers in which she's taken one paper. There was 8 cases. She mentions 8 cases. 4 of them are genuine. Well, 4 of them are women who actually were raped, who were falsely accused of. Four of them were women who were raped, and they were accused of falsely reporting. And there were 4 others who weren't, and Gal Sherwood is one of them. She came up with all sorts of weird stuff. Claimed to have been kidnapped and tied to a fence. A bloke was meant to have walked into a home and threatened her. And on another occasion, well, she also claimed to have received letters from him, which she burned. You know, I mean, as I've said before, if there's one false allegation, if there's one allegation, right? If a woman makes an allegation, or a man makes an allegation, not necessarily a sexual offence, but of assault, a burglary, or something, the police will generally take that person at their word, that person's word. But if it's a whole series of them over a period of time, a fairly close period of time, short period of time, they'll look into it, and almost all these cases turn out to be fake. Not all of them, you know. There's the so-called stalkers who pursue women and men as well for sexual reasons or other reasons. I mean, obviously celebrities are this happens to celebrities quite a lot. They're pestered by people. My feeling is that if you're a celebrity and somebody keeps pestering you, you should meet with that person and discuss whatever, show some well, just show your human face. The some of these cases get out of hand. But if somebody's persistently making allegations, and it turns out there's no, you can't keep making allegations. If somebody's doing this, a trail of evidence will be formed, and if not, then there will be no evidence, or be evidence to the contrary. And that with Sherwood, they found evidence that she was making it up. So anyway, you'll find a lot more crazy bitches on the timeline, actually. That's about all I'm going to say at the moment. Right, well, So due to the poor, I mean, I can't blame this on shadow banning. These people, nobody's turning up. Well, you're turning up, but the first, I think the most I've had is 7 people for this meet up with this hangout, which is very disappointing. So anyway, I'll put this on. I'll end this now and make it go live sometime shortly, and also it's the Internet Archive next month, and maybe I'll continue. I'll restart live hangouts later in the year, maybe.